first thing I want to do is actually, before I do that, is invite Dr. Jones to say hello. I see he just entered the session. So Dr. Jones down there, would you like to welcome everyone? You're on mute right now, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to disturb your talk there, but thanks for having me say a couple words first. I have to apologize. I have to leave in a few minutes to an admin team meeting, so I won't be on for long. But I did want to say welcome to everybody. I think, you know, opportunities like this are great to hear about what our counseling department can do to help you out, or what they add to the mix here at the school. We're incredibly proud of the whole department because of there was a phrase used earlier, the customer service orientation, parents and students being the customers. So they do a fantastic job, and I would encourage you that if you ever have a question or anything like that, reach out. They're really here to help, and they do a good job getting students what they need when they need it to the best of their ability. So I just like to say welcome. I don't want to step on Ruth's toes too much. I'll let her run her program because I'm sure, like years past, even though it's virtual, it's going to be informative, and it's going to be a really good chance for you to meet some people.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so we're now ready to go from the beginning of the PowerPoints. And one of the things that we really want you to think about is really just to breathe this year. We know it is incredibly difficult. This year is a tough year. Our kids, usually senior year is a tough year for kids. It's also an incredibly tough year for parents. So just breathe, okay? When we were in classes yesterday, we met with students in cohort, actually in all the cohorts, but in person with cohort A and cohort B. They were certainly on the screen, but we met with them all and we talked to them and went through a lot of the information that we're going to be sharing with you today. And one of the things we really encouraged them to do is just breathe, that it will be okay. Take a breath when things get tough, and know that your counselors are here to help you. So one of the things that we first have on our screen was a watermelon, and we asked the kids yesterday, why do you think we have a watermelon on the screen? And it was interesting. One of the students in the classes, one of the classes I was in, said it's because we're so stressful, it's going to burst. And it's like, no, that's not it. You might feel that way. Again, that's why we want you to breathe. But the reason that we put this watermelon is that we want you to think about a watermelon and this whole college admissions process. If you try to take it on just in one big, gulp or one big process, it's going to be difficult. So we want you to slice and dice it. So think of it. It would be difficult for you to eat a whole watermelon at one setting. That's the same thing as the college admissions process. So we want you to slice it in half, slice it again, and put it down into manageable pieces. And this is where your school counselors can really help you with that as well. So to start out, we wanted to just introduce you to the counseling staff. So here everybody is coming up on the screen, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. I'm Ruth Kerrigan. I'm the director of the department, and I work with students whose last names are A and B. Mrs. Garrett is actually on leave. She had some medical things going on, and she's on leave right now. And I'm going to ask the rest of the counselors to introduce yourself. So Mrs. DeMello.
Hi, I'm Sarah DeMello. I'm covering for Maureen Garrett while she is out, and I will have students with last names C through F. And it's nice to meet you.
This is
Hey everyone, I am Courtney Seelig, and I have everyone with the last names G through L.
Hi, I'm Maggie Kate Cunha, and I have everybody with the last names M through P.
Good morning, I'm Dom Amato, and I have last names Q through Z for the senior class.
Great. And we asked Ms. Dalton to be with us this morning. She's the adjustment counselor for grades 10 and 12.
Hi everybody, I see students in grades 10 and 12 for adjustment counseling.
And Laura, I know you can't stay with us for the whole program, so any advice for parents whose kids are really stressed out by senior year?
I think just, take the pressure off of yourselves and know that we're all adjusting to this, and, it's going to take time. So if you're still feeling uncomfortable or overwhelmed, teachers are going to be flexible. We're all in this together, and I think just kind of take it a day at a time. And if, I am available as well as the other counselors if your son or daughter needs some extra support. I have also on our website, I don't know if you're going to touch on this, Ruth, but a list of outside mental health resources if anybody needs a counselor or a psychiatrist. We have different agencies as well on the list. So check that out if you're interested in outside.
Awesome, thanks. So there are a few of our counselors who are busy with kids today, and that's Allison Seiden. She's the adjustment counselor for grades 9 and 11. Caitlin Robichaud is an adjustment counselor who works specifically with our BRIGHT program. And then we have a couple more people we want you to meet. So Tony, where are you?
Hi. I don't know if you guys can see me, but hi, I'm Miss Campbell. I'm an intern in the school counseling office.
Yeah,
Nice
so
to see you all.
And you're from Bridgewater State doing your internship, right?
I am, yes.
Okay. And next up is Peyton.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Peyton Bradshaw. I'm also an intern here,
And what school are you with?
and I'm at Providence College.
Great. All right. And last but not least, we're happy to introduce you to Megan Rivera. She is our new administrative assistant. So Megan.
Hi, everyone. I'm your new administrative assistant. You can find me in the school counseling office up front. If you ever need anything, just give me a call or come in.
Great. Those of you who knew Kathy Getchell, Kathy retired in May after 34 years, and Megan has replaced her, and she's doing a great job. And Kathy's great too. We see her frequently. So, okay, so we're going to go on now that you've met the staff. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit stuck here. Let's go on. Okay, so one of the things that your kids may have mentioned to you is that this year, they're not really seeing us the way they always did. And that's because we can't just have large groups of kids dropping into the school counseling office. Certainly we want to see them as soon as they need to be seen. And if there's an emergency, they're welcome to come down to our office. But we do have this QR code where we're asking kids to, you basically, it's just like if you've been out to a restaurant during COVID, a lot of the restaurants have this, and you hover over the QR code with your phone, a form comes up, you fill it out, and then we get an email and we see the student right away. So this seems to be working pretty well. And if your children need to see us, these signs are all around the school, and you're welcome to use it as well, or simply give us a call or send us an email if you have a concern. One of the things we want you to do is to follow us. Students, we're really encouraging them to check their school email on a regular basis, because a lot of information is sent through there from teachers, especially now that we are using Google. The emails are even more important for their students to check for assignments and so forth. We also have a Twitter page, and Mrs. Seelig does a great job keeping us updated on that. So we encourage you, if you use Twitter, to go ahead and follow us at WHRHS.guidance. There is also a Remind app for the senior class, and Mr. Moriarty and Mr. Rosen run that. So for the kids to keep up to date, they should be doing the Remind app. And then we just actually started a Google Classroom. I don't believe that parents are able to join this directly, but when we were in classes yesterday, we encouraged your students to sign up for that, because we're going to be posting a lot of information in there. A lot of the resources that we have for the department will be found there, and we'll be posting scholarship information a little bit later too. So when your kids get home, ask them, did you sign up for that Google Classroom for school counseling? And if they said no, we encourage you to have them do that. All of you have been sent the PowerPoint that we're using today, so the code is right in there. Okay, so today's agenda, we're basically going to be talking about kind of what your child's plan is. We're going to be talking about the SAT and the ACT. There's a lot of discussion about that. Application process at Whitman-Hanson, the college essay project, and some strategies for managing senior stress. So one of the things that we've been doing for the past couple of years is actually we have a program called Panther Pathways. Whitman-Hanson has a comprehensive school counseling program that we do for all of our students. And just want to review it briefly so you can see kind of what we've been doing and really a building block for your kids for the past 3 years. So our school counseling curriculum, part of it is in classroom working with students, part of it is some of the individual work that we do. But since the very start of their school in grade 9, we have been hopefully preparing them for life after high school. We've been doing interest inventories, we've been doing early college planning workshops, we've been doing programming for parents, so that the hope is that by the time the students get to senior year, that they have a pretty good idea of what they want to do. Obviously, their junior year was very much disrupted kind of during that prime college planning season. We missed the Boston National College Fair. We had to do everything virtually, but we're still building that foundation so that hopefully they are here this year with a pretty good idea of what they're going to be doing. So what we've done so far is we did our senior college planning workshop in English classes. This is for grade 12. We did that yesterday. We will be visiting the cohort B kids on Thursday to pass out some information to them. We have a college essay project we'll tell you about in a few minutes. Senior college coffee that we're doing right now. And we're actually kind of really sad because usually we have this great big breakfast for you and it's a really fun event. And sadly we've had to go virtual, but we hope to give you the same information. We'll be doing some career connections fairs. Our interns will be working on that. And we haven't exactly figured out how that will happen since we can't have people in the building, but we are going to do that. And then we also have some college financing workshops. Those will be a little bit different this year too. And we're still in the process of organizing some of that. So in terms of making a plan, I'm actually going to turn things over right now to Courtney Seelig.
Thank you, Ruth. So making a plan, we just saw, a lot of the different activities and events that we've been doing with your child to help them, get to this moment and have a good idea. I would say generally, being in the classroom yesterday, a lot of kids did have an idea, and that's a great sign. And some of it just might be, yeah, I know I want to go to college, or yes, I know I'm going to join the military, and that's okay. There's a plan for everybody, whether they want to go and explore a four-year college and get that bachelor's degree right away, whether they are thinking about a two-year college and associate's degree program and maybe transfer after that. We saw a big shift last year, obviously during COVID, everyone's lives was abruptly changed and even halted. And, for a lot of our seniors, maybe that four-year goal plan was always going to be their path, but knowing that you were going to be doing classes remotely, knowing that you weren't going to be able to have that traditional college experience, we did see a lot of kids in this springtime kind of make a shift in those plans and maybe explored a little bit more of that two-year route first, or even some post-secondary training. There's a lot of opportunities out there for students and to get that training and without that price tag and really have a great career. So we do a lot of research with these kids. I'll show you a little bit as we move in the slides of some of the useful websites that we use for everybody. And also the military. We've seen certainly an uptick of students joining the military and really wanting to, explore that route, whether it's just to stay in the military, have a career in the military, or use that as a way to, provide more financial benefits for them to then further on and go into college. So no matter what your son or daughter's plan is, there is a college out there for everybody if you want to go to college. And, it's just a matter of making sure that your plan is matching best to you, your likes, your interests, your skills, your abilities, your lifestyle, and certainly making sure that there is going to be a job for you out there after you do that preparation. One of the tools that we use all the time with our kids, and maybe some of you had joined us in the spring to do our Naviance night, but we use a program called Naviance that actually stores all this information. It's really a great electronic portfolio. It stores all those interest inventories that we talked about earlier in the presentation. So I'll show you how to access some of those. And certainly if your child still really doesn't have an idea of what they want to do, that's okay too. So we can certainly work with them and help them try to figure out a path and plan that's going to work for them. So you can head into Naviance. The way students log in is through their Clever account. In Clever, there's a little, almost like apps for them to be able to join into their Google Classrooms, to join into certainly Naviance. We have some of these other websites like College Board on there for them. So it's very streamlined. That's something that the district worked hard at doing. So they access the Naviance program through their Clever account.
Courtney, are you able to see the Clever right now? No?
Can we see it? No, we cannot.
Okay. All right. So I am going to stop that share and then share. So when students log on, can you see this now? Can you see Clever?
Now we can, yep.
So yeah, that's how they would get on through Clever. Okay, yep. Now what I can do is, Courtney, I'll go out and go back into Naviance, okay?
Great, thank you. So for parents, we can also connect you to your child's Naviance account as well. So if that is something that you are interested in, or if you were connected in the past but maybe forgot that password, which we all do, we have to change them all the time. Just reach out to your child's counselor and we can either get you set up or we can reset that password for you. So everything that you're going to see here today, all the kids have access to, and you do as well. So when a student logs in, this is good old Pat Panther. He's a very good student here, Whitman Hanson. This is the screen that you can see right when you log in. The first place that I would like to take you to is under the About Me section. And this, one of the pieces of information that the students received yesterday and cohort B will receive on Thursday, and if you are a full remote student, we will be mailing this home to you, was a copy of the your high school transcript, which would list a student's GPA on there. You can also access a student's GPA through Naviance. It is not available on Infinite Campus, only through Naviance. So if you go under the About Me tab and extend. I think this happens.
I'm clicking extend, it's not happening. So, okay, well, we'll log in again. Sorry, everybody.
No problem. So in there, you'll see the GPA, like I just mentioned. There'll be the weighted GPA, which accounts for all core academic courses, which is your English, math, science, social studies, and foreign language. And students do get additional points, so to speak, if they have a class that's an honors level or an advanced placement AP level. It will also show the unweighted GPA, which would be all your classes that a student has taken. So that includes the gym, the computer, any art or music of any class that they took, and there's no additional weight given to anything. When colleges are looking at the transcript, they are looking at that weighted GPA. So that would be one area in Naviance that you can always have access to that information, as well as their test scores. So again, it would be under the About Me. I believe I can't get it with this.
My account.
Yeah, my account, sorry. My little screen was right there. So you just scroll right down, there's the GPA. So that's something that everybody has access to. Again, they all got a copy of their transcript as well. The other piece under the About Me tab is you can see my assessments. There's all of the assessments, all the interest inventories that your son or daughter has taken in all the classroom workshops that we've done. So this is usually a good place to start when working with kids to say, you know what, I really still don't have a clue of what I want to do. At that time, they save some careers in their Naviance account, so we can always go back to that. Or they might say, hey, you know what, I didn't really actually take that interest inventory seriously. So that's not a problem. We understand. We can just reset that and have them take that assessment now and see, you know, what kind of pops up for them. And again, so all of that would be stored under the careers tab. So you can go in to their careers tab, careers I'm thinking about. These are the ones that they would have saved. And then we can go through and do some investigating there. The other important piece, and I would say this should be really that first slice of that watermelon under that About Me tab, is the surveys. We ask that all the seniors complete the senior college planning survey. So under my surveys, it would be a surveys not started yet, because we just activated for them, and it's the senior college planning survey. So we also understand, COVID times or not, typically when we have our junior meetings in the springtime, their plans have already changed by when we meet back again in the fall for their senior year. So, and that's totally normal and completely understandable, especially during these COVID times. So the senior college planning survey gives us that information to see, hey, what are you thinking about? You know, are you thinking about going to 4-year, 2-year school, some post-secondary training, going to the military? What's that career that you have in mind? So that gives us some background. It also asks them a little bit more in-depth questions. This is what we use to help write their letter of recommendation. We do write a letter of recommendation for every single one of our senior students. So the more detailed information that they can provide in here, the better. They do know this from our meeting yesterday. So we did say, you know, this should be your first slice. Just get this done. I also think it's a great way just to kind of start to brainstorm all the things that they've been involved with inside and outside of school for the past 4 years. They're going to need to provide this information to their teachers when they ask them for a letter of recommendation. And also they're going to use this as a great brainstorming way before they have to actually put it on their application. So first lies right here, the Senior College Planning Survey. Under the colleges tab, this is where we did some college planning with the juniors in the spring. Obviously, again, a little bit different, but some of the college that they have thought about would be right under the tab, colleges I'm thinking about. You can see in there, there'd be some colleges that either the student added, you can see that a counselor, one of us may have added it through one of our conversations with them, that we say, hey, you're interested in education, you know what, you should check out Bridgewater State. They have a fantastic education program. You can also add colleges in here too, and it would show up as parent. And I find this really helpful because oftentimes the feedback that we have from parents is that, you know what, it's like pulling teeth to try to get my child to talk to me about what their plan is. And this is a great way to kind of have that open communication with one another so you can say, hey, Missy like recommended Babson. Why did she recommend that school? Is that one that you might be interested in? Let's talk about that. Or vice versa. I can see that maybe you added a school or they added a school, and it just kind of helps like initiate that conversation. If you go ahead and click on any of those, you can pick any of one of those, Mrs. Kerrigan. Okay. It will give you some background information. You could do just a basic college search on Naviance. Again, if you're still really kind of at that place where I don't really know what I want to do, or if there are some schools that you've heard of, like, hey, I'm interested in this one. You can see right away at the top, they have a direct link to their virtual tour. Some campuses are allowing in-person tours. I know Roger Williams just sent us an email to say they are doing some limited in-person tours, but generally speaking, everyone's still doing that virtual tour. So all the colleges and Naviance have a direct link right to that, which is really helpful and useful. If you scroll down a little bit, it's going to just give you an overview of the college, you know, the graduation rate, what's the deadline, how many colleges overlap. This I find really helpful as well when trying to think about, hey, I really like Babson. What are some similar colleges that other Whitney-Hanson students have applied to that also had an interest in Babson when you're trying to build that college list? You can even just click on that tab right under college overlaps. It says, see other colleges that applicants to the school also applied to. And it will give you another nice list of other schools. You can see what that average SAT score was, what the average GPA, how many other students applied there, the acceptance rate. And again, this is just for students for Whitman-Hanson. This isn't just the overall applications to those schools. But I think this is kind of helpful when you say, hey, I like this school, but not really sure what other schools I should look at. The other, when we go back to the college profile, and you scroll down, it will also give you direct links. So colleges pay to be a part of Naviance, which is really great. So a lot of their information, I'd say 99.9% of the time, is nice, good, accurate information because they're paying to have it displayed on there. I would just always say double check the college website though, the admissions page, just to always make sure you know, deadlines are the same or requirements. If you scroll down though, what they've also done to make it a little bit easier is they've, and I'm not sure, I haven't checked on Babson yet, but we can see if they've provided any other links to their, they have not. So other schools, I know Bridgewater has done it, Quinnipiac is another great school that has done it. What they've done is put direct links right on their homepage to other information sessions in addition to the virtual tour. So if you're thinking about doing, like, you know, a specialized program, perhaps in the health and sciences related fields or engineering, they're going to have dedicated information sessions specific to that program. So they may have slightly different admissions requirements for those programs. So some of the schools on Naviance have linked those information sessions right on their Naviance page. Otherwise, you can just go right to their website. The other page under the admissions tab, when you're in a college, probably the most useful part of Naviance is that we've tracked data of all students from 2010 that have applied to the schools. So you could see, based on students' GPA and SAT scores, whether they were admitted, denied, waitlisted, and then later on accepted, deferred to the regular applicant pool. You have all that real-time data. So this is really a great way to kind of help gauge, okay, what would be that reach school for me? What's that probable and what's maybe that safety school? So you could see that little blue circle person. That would be me. That would be me, Pat Panther, right here. If I was applying to Babson College, I could see that other students for Whitman Hanson that have also applied to Babson with similar GPA and SAT scores, I'm in kind of the red X mark. So they were not admitted, but I wouldn't necessarily rule that out. If I love Babson, what I would do is, make sure that's on my reach school list. I'm going to add some others to it. And then I'm going to check in to see what else can I do. Maybe there's, at normal times, I would look at that in maybe an SAT prep type class. Right now, obviously SATs, and we'll talk about that later. It's not really a thing right now, which is kind of helpful. So I certainly wouldn't rule this out, but I would also see, do they offer a chance to interview? I would definitely want to take the admissions counselors up on that, just to kind of, put myself out there a little bit more, knowing that I don't quite meet those requirements. So again, I keep this as a good way to do that reach probable safety school. And the GPA on this chart is based on a weighted GPA. I saw that comment come up on the chat. So that would be the weighted GPA.
And also, you might be thinking that your kids didn't have a chance to take the SATs, and that's okay. On this chart, a lot of these are PSAT scores. So this chart, this scattergram will actually work with a PSAT score as well in combination with your GPA.
So this is, I would just, you can't screw anything up. Honestly, I would just go in, play around, and just see what's there, and just get all the information that you can. I think it's just a super helpful tool that we use with all of our students, and I think it could be really useful and helpful as a parent as well. One of the other tabs under the colleges, so we went under the colleges I'm thinking about. Under the colleges I'm applying to, so when students are ready to apply, you'll be able to see the colleges listed here. The one thing that's really important for them to do, especially if they're using the common application, is to match their accounts, which means that we submit all of their supporting materials through Naviance. So that way you want them to kind of be able to talk to each other, so they have to match them. So after they fill out some portions of the common app, they're going to be able to log back into their Naviance account, click on match accounts, they'll enter in their common app email address, their date of birth, and then they will be connected together. So that would be one step in applying to colleges. So that way that gives us permission to be able to submit all their documents for them. The last thing I would want to just show you on Naviance is back on the home page. The other tool that we always use with our students is the Occupational Outlook Handbook. It's actually probably my favorite website that we use. There's a direct link right on their homepage, but also you can just search it regular if you'd like as well. But basically, this is all data collected by the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. And what they've done, like we mentioned kind of before, you want to pick a career that is going to be best for you and your lifestyle and match to your abilities and interests. You also want to pick a career that's going to be there when you're done with that preparation. And what they have done, the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, has compiled all that data. So what they've done is projected out careers from 2019 to 2029 to show what is the growth rate or even decline in some situations. So that way we know we're picking a good career choice. Healthcare is probably one of the most popular for our students right now. So if we just want to go in quickly into that tab, it will give you a whole list of different occupations within the healthcare umbrella. And it will also give you a great snapshot of the responsibilities for that job, how much money they make, what's the entry-level education needed to be able to do that job. Naviance has very similar data as well, but this is going to give you that projection and that growth. If we want to look at, if you want to just pick one, we can just look at it. So athletic training, that is actually very popular for our kids. So even just like the quick snapshot, what's the average salary? $48,000 per year. You need a bachelor's degree, so that 4-year college is what they're going to be looking at. And it's growing. This is really the data that we want to see is what's that growth, and it's growing at a 16% rate, which is much faster than the average. So after 4 years, if I'm training to become an athletic trainer, going through that education, I know that there's a really good chance that there's going to be a job available for me later on. maybe athletic training, after you do some research, it's not really for me, but I still like something in that field. You can click on the similar occupations tab. You know, your son or daughter might feel, you know what, I'm kind of done with school right now. I don't really want to do that whole 4-year thing. What are some other options that I would have? And if you go into similar occupations, it's going to give you some other ideas. One would be, I would probably suggest the EMT. You know, you're still working, it's that whole anatomy and physiology, working with the body, working with people. You can click right on that tab. It will tell you exactly what you would need to do. That's a post-secondary non-degree program. So that post-secondary training, typically it's about a year, year and a half. And that's growing at 6%, you know, not maybe as fast as that 16% as that athletic training, but hey, it's still going to be a good job that it's going to be out there for me. And making a salary, you know, after just a year of training, about $35,000 a year, that's a really good job that offers a lot for students. So this is just a great way to, again, a lot of plans have changed, a lot of things have shifted, and college is expensive. So this is a great tool to use in addition to Naviance to see, you know, what are some of my other options that are out there. And again, all those links are right into Naviance. Again, you could just access that on your own as well. It's in their, it's in our PowerPoint that you'll have for later as well.
Great. Thanks, Courtney. Well, again, parents, if you would like to have access to your child's Naviance account and you don't already, just email your school counselor and we can set that up for you. So I'm going to stop the share for a second, go back to the PowerPoint, and we will keep on moving. So can you see that now? We good? Okay. All right, great. Okay, so now Mrs. Cunha is going to take us through the next part of our program, which is, oops, here we go, which is the high school transcript and the state university system admissions.
If you have a student in cohort A, your child may have brought home a red folder yesterday or the day before. And if you have one in cohort B, they'll be bringing a red folder home tomorrow. And if your student is at home, it's being mailed to you. What you'll see in that rolled folder, one of the things is the high school transcript. It'll look a little different from the one you see on the screen because it won't have grade 12. Nothing will go on the transcript from grade 12 until your student has graduated. So what colleges will see is 9, 10, 11, and 12 end of year grades. They don't see any mid-years or any of those progress reports that we see because we do the rolling grades and they receive a grade at the end of the year, and that's what's posted to their transcript. So if you look at the top, there's 2 different areas for the GPA that Mrs. Seelig talked about earlier, the ones that you can find in Naviance. The only other place you can find it is here on their high school transcript. And you can see Pat has taken a few honors classes over the years. And because of that, the weighted GPA and the unweighted GPA are different. The weighted GPA takes into account the weight of those honors classes. And so because they did well in those honors classes, the GPA is a little bit higher for the weighted GPA. Additionally, you'll see the courses that they've taken. You'll see that there's 4 years of English, 4 years of math. There's at least 3 years of science, at least 2 years of social studies, 2 years of a foreign language, and electives. And that is because Mass State College universities have certain standards that they require for students to have obtained before they come to their college and university. Whitman Hanson does a great job of setting your student up to be successful if they decide that they want to go to a 4-year Mass State College or university. We set them up to be successful just by graduating from here and completing our requirements for graduation. They're then eligible for a Mass State College university under the requirements of classes they need to take. One more thing that they look at is the student's GPA and in combination with if they've taken the ACT or SAT. And I know that's a lot different this year, and that's okay. Tony's going to talk a little bit about the SATs in a few minutes. It's different this year, but if your child has had the opportunity to take the SAT and perhaps they didn't do so well and didn't have that second opportunity to take it, one of two things. We'll talk about the schools that are not requiring the SAT this year, but also the sliding scale. So you can see that the weighted high school GPA, if it's higher, the students don't need as strong of a SAT score. On the other end, if the student has a lower GPA but tests really well and they've had the opportunity to take it and their GPA maybe is the 2.1 GPA, if they've done well on the SATs, that could work in their favor. Also, there's the Commonwealth commitment. Courtney talked a little bit earlier about kids who, hadn't decided, have maybe changed their plan and thought they were going to go straight to a four-year college, but things are different and they won't get that. Perhaps they won't get that campus experience right off the bat, but either way, the Commonwealth commitment and the mass transfer is an amazing program. It helps students save money. Going through the Commonwealth commitment program, all the classes that they would take there at Massasoit or community college would then transfer to a state college and university. So it assures, like, unlike say a kid goes to a LaSalle or a Babson, like we said earlier, and takes some courses, there's no guarantee that those courses then transfer to a state college and university if that's somewhere that they choose to move to.
Just tell me the truth, are you? You look like Tam.
Okay, we're going to ask you to mute yourself if you're in the audience, please.
I've already told you. Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to actually hear from Mrs. DeMello and talk a little bit about the SAT and the ACT. And I'm going to stop sharing for a moment because I want to take you to this website. Here we go. So, Sarah, I'm turning it over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. All right, I saw a bunch of questions about the SATs. I know that's a hot topic this year. Schools, along with us and your students, are all aware of the fact that, they didn't get the same opportunities as prior seniors have gotten, where they were able to take the SATs. They were able to retake them last year, things like that. Because of that, there's been so many colleges that have gone test optional. This was always a thing, but not as many people, not as many colleges had approved it. And now there is this list from the National Association for College Admission Counseling that goes through and it says what institution is test optional, that test optional means test optional, who in the school signed off on it, and when that actually happened. And this is actually a very extensive list. The students that we talked this over with yesterday in cohort A and B were, actually surprised at how many colleges were on this list now. So, it really does mean what it's saying, that test optional is test optional. They are not expecting to see the SAT scores. There's many, many common ones that students around here apply to. I believe Stonehill's on there. There's the University of Massachusetts Amherst. There's, some of the higher ones like Boston College. There's a huge long list. So, when they are thinking about the fact that they have not taken the SATs yet, if they have not had the chance, this is definitely something that other colleges are considering. And, it shouldn't be, we're all in this together is basically what it is. Like they know this, they know they haven't taken it. Here at Whitman-Hanson, we are going to be doing a SAT on October 3rd. I know some people have signed up for that. Right now that is still on. We plan to have it. The only thing that would stop that is a shutdown, but they were saying that a lot of people had applied. It is full, so they will have a chance on October 3rd as of now. Hold on, I was just looking. So they can definitely take the SAT. never hurts. What we usually say is when you're taking the SAT, there's always that option of the 4 free score that you can send to the colleges. And, if you're feeling really good about it, if you think you did really well, sign up, send it to the colleges. They are free at that point. You have about 9 days after you take the test to decide if you want to send your scores. After that, so if they're not sure or if they're questioning it, they don't have to send it there. And once they get their scores, they can send it to any college they want. The only caveat with that is that they are $12 each. So if they get their test scores back and they did really well, and they think that'll really help, even if the college is test optional, I would suggest send them. And it would just be $12 each for that. The deadlines are fast approaching. Some things that I just want to talk about is that they really need to be checking their email if they have signed up for any SATs in the near future. One of the ones that have closed for the year is Duxbury. Sometimes students have been getting emails right away. Sometimes they've been getting them a little bit later. And so it's just important for them to not only check their email, but check the test site and just make sure that where they are going is still open, that they can still take it. And if they have any questions, they can come down to us and ask about that. So the last slide that was just up there, it's just talking about making sure everything's correct when they do sign up. So making sure that their name's correct, because if they get there and something is not right, then they won't be able to test, and we don't want that. We want, if they got a spot and they can do it, we do want them to be able to go in, and masks are mandatory this year. I know there's been a lot of questions. Let me try and get through these and I'll go back to the questions. So acceptable ID pictures. We talked about this yesterday. They just have to make sure that, no hoodies, that it's from the neck and shoulders up, that no other person is in the picture with them, and that they can be clearly recognized. The ACTs, normally this is a little bit of a different conversation. The ACTs, colleges accept them the same way as the SATs. The reason to take the ACT sometimes is that, if you have a really strong interest in science, the ACT does have a science portion. Another nice thing that's great about the ACT is at the end, they kind of give you like an interest inventory. It tells you, like, based on the ways you answered questions, what you might be interested in. So that's something nice about the ACTs. From hearing from other counselors and other people who have been taking the ACTs, there have been lots and lots of cancellations. There hasn't really been good communication. So it is definitely still an option. They are allowed to take the ACTs. No one's telling them they can't, but they may not hear if anything is canceled. And the other thing is, it's really hard to get a hold of anybody from the ACT support help center. So it's just kind of been a little bit more difficult and hard to handle.
So I think, so really the message to the kids this year is, if you're signed up for a test and you can take it, then we recommend that you do that. But we really feel that what the schools are telling us is true, is that test optional means test optional. So we wouldn't, we're not going to worry too much if we can't get one of those tests in. And what we can do is when we get back, when we get finished up, we can go into the questions on the chat about anything that we haven't answered yet. All right. So at this point, we're actually going to ask Mr. Amato to talk with us for a few minutes about finances and how, once we get to college, how do we pay the bill?
Good morning. And it's an interesting situation for me because I have a horse in the race, so to speak. My son is a senior, so I'm going through this with all the other parents in our audience today. And I think as Mrs. Cunha spoke about the red folder, please, meet with your son or daughter about the red folder, because we've met with the senior English classes this past week. And I think it's important that you start to, sit down and have conversations with your child Mrs. Seelig mentioned some terms, a reach school. Academically, a school might be a reach, it might be a probable, it might be a safety. Financially, the same thing holds true. It is very expensive. Private schools are obviously very expensive, and we have the state and public universities. And then the two-year schools obviously are not as expensive, the community college. So you have to really have the financial discussion. First thing you should know is that if your child qualifies for free or reduced lunch, we do have a mechanism that they can see their counselor to inquire about some fee waivers, to get some SAT or ACT testing. If they're taking AP classes, they can qualify if they have free or reduced lunch for a reduced fee on their AP exams. And also many colleges will offer, a waiver of the college application fee. So that's certainly something to keep in mind. I want you to, at least from a financial scholarship, if you will, money aspect, the conversations have to occur, because most seniors are going to apply, anywhere from, I think a nominal number would be anywhere from maybe 2 or 3 schools, maybe on the low end, and I've seen as many as 8, 10 schools. So, it can get expensive with application fees and then the actual cost of attending. So I think the biggest thing right now is MIFA, MIFA.org. Back in the normal times, if you will, we used to have a FAFSA night. We used to have a financial aid information night. Things are a little different now in the COVID era, but I think if you can, link on to MIFA.org, very, very helpful. They have a lot of parent sessions, webinars, and they will have a lot of financial aid information that, parents need to know. Many of you have maybe older sons or daughters that have maybe gone through this, but there are many parents that this might be your oldest, or maybe it's an only child. So this is new terminology, new lingo. We will answer questions at the end, but again, I think if MIFA.org, if you can bookmark that, that's something you want to definitely start to attend some financial aid seminars that are going to be coming up in the very near future. One of the first terms you need to know is the term FAFSA. It's an acronym. It stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and it's pronounced FAFSA. But certainly, that's a form that you're going to have to fill out, whether it's a 2-year college, a 4-year college, a public school, a state school, any college ambitions, if you will. The FAFSA is kind of the be-all and end-all form that kind of kicks everything into gear. They changed the law a few years ago that you can now start filling out the FAFSA as early as October, and you can use what's called prior, so that you can use the prior year's taxes that have already been filled out, so that's fresh, complete, accurate data. And so certainly by filling out the FAFSA and using that 2019 tax information, there's a data retrieval tool that the organizations and colleges can utilize, and that the federal government methodology to see what loans and scholarships and programs and grants that you can apply for and be eligible for by filling out the FAFSA. We do have scholarship information. The red folder that the seniors brought home the past few days, and cohort B will get their folders on Thursday, but there is a yellow sheet in there. And again, it's very important to talk to your son or daughter and see that red folder. My plan as a parent, I don't want to nag, and I think it's good advice to, not badger your son or daughter daily about, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you get your teacher recommendations? Hey, did you fill out this and that? But for me, my plan is maybe every Sunday, a wise person told me this, maybe every Sunday, just once a week, kind of have a chat with my son and look at different benchmarks. Have you done this? Have you done that? To not be as threatening, if you will, because we want the child to take ownership. It's all about them. It's their senior year. They're the one that's graduating. They're the one that's making their future plan. So they should take some ownership. But I think it's important that on the yellow sheet that they have in their red folder, on page 3, there are several websites for scholarship, through Twitter or, online sites that you can fill out information and apply for outside scholarships. Obviously, the FAFSA will be filled out. And then for us, I think the big thing for our students locally here at Whitman-Hanson is we have dollars for scholars. Some of your children may have already joined the organization, maybe did some volunteer work sophomore year, junior year, or maybe they're thinking of joining this year. But certainly DFS, Dollars for Scholars, our local businesses and community-based scholarships have been around for almost 40 years. And we will have information around February and March. There's a process that the students have to go through to fill out various types of scholarships. They can apply for as many scholarships as they're eligible for. And so that will kick into gear, and we have our scholarship awards night in May. That's certainly something that can be very beneficial. And then the final, again, terminology. There are some private schools out there, and I had this happen to me 3 years ago. I have a son, as I said, who's a senior, and then his older brother is a junior right now at Worcester Polytech, WPI. There are certain private schools out there that require another type of financial aid form called the CSS profile. So it is possible, and this happened to me, that I had to fill out both the FAFSA and the CSS profile. And the reason for the CSS profile, which actually charges you a nominal fee, but because private schools, not state schools, but private schools are very expensive, and they do have institutional dollars that they can give out, but they want to see if you're worthy of those dollars, if you will. So not only do you complete the FAFSA, but I think about 250 schools, private schools, ask you to also fill out more data, and it's called the CSS profile. So you got to check with each college. Every college has different requirements, different financial requirements. But I just want to make sure you get the terminology in case it pops up, like, hey, what is this profile? What is this FAFSA? The FAFSA, everyone will have to do one if you're looking to college. The CSS profile is only for a certain number of private schools that may require it, and you would see that on Naviance or their website. They would tell you what their requirements are.
Thanks, Mr. Amato. One thing I wanted to mention is that in the resources that we sent you by email, in addition to the PowerPoint, we also sent you a copy of the college senior planning checklist. It's not on yellow paper, but you have it as well, so you can refer to that too. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the college admissions process here at Whitman Hanson. So Ms. Campbell, you're on.
Thank you, Mrs. Kerrigan. So to begin the application/admissions process, you want to start by deciding where you're going to apply to. So you can start looking at some potential colleges and schools that you like. And I would suggest beginning this process by working with your school counselor, because they definitely have a wealth of knowledge and resources, and definitely utilize them. Also, you can attend some of those virtual campus visits via the Naviance page that Mrs. Seelig was showing us. So many of the schools that you put on there have a virtual visit that you can go on and kind of just get the feel for the school and, you know, see if you like it. Also, we're doing weekly meetings with college representatives, college admissions representatives, excuse me, and those are called Panther Pathways virtual visits. So we're doing those every Wednesday between 1 and 2 p.m. And this week we're visiting Bridgewater State University. So be sure to check your emails and sign up for those. And then once you've found some schools that you're thinking about applying to, it's time to make some decisions. So there are different types of decisions. There is early decision, which this is going to be an option for a school that you absolutely know that you want to attend. So it's basically a contract saying that you are going to attend that school. So you've done your research and you know that this is the school for you. So early deadlines are going to be around November. So it's going to be around the 1st, 5th, or 15th. And as I said, with the early decision, that is a contract. So if you go with the early decision, you're saying you're going to go there. And the only way to possibly get out of that is if you don't get the financing that you need. Early action is very similar to early decision. However, it's not a contract. So you can apply early to several different schools and then make your decision about which one you're going to attend. Regular decision is there's a deadline, let's say January 1st, you apply, and then within a few weeks you would receive your answer back. And rolling admissions is as the applications come in, they're deciding as they're coming in. So they're receiving your application, they're saying yes or no, and within a few weeks you'll get that decision. And if you are going to be applying early, it's important that you pay attention to October 16th, because that is the date that your transcript request forms are due. And you can request those through Ms. Rivera, who is our administrative assistant.
Okay, so most of your kids will probably be doing the common application. The common application is an opportunity for a student to use one application to apply to multiple schools. And there are, I think, about 500 schools on there. Mr. Amato always knows the number, so, but it's a lot of schools. So most of the schools your kids are applying to, they can use the Common App. This is not a difficult process. It can be tedious. So we encourage kids to actually start on it now. We did a workshop last year on the Common App, and hopefully some of the kids listen to it. We have put the link in our Google Classroom. It's also on the website. So if there are any questions on that, they can get some help with the Common App. And there is a new question this year about COVID-19. And I know that Mrs. Seelig, you attended a webinar recently and that was addressed. Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Sure. It was a webinar with Tufts, Northeastern, and Boston University, and they went through the application process and how that does look different, being a little bit more competitive schools, but they're all pretty much on the same page in terms of, you know, SATs that we had already talked about, of those truly being optional this year. But also, you know, we all are currently still living in a pandemic. We are still very much affected by COVID-19, and things are constantly changing to this day. There is that question on the Common App this year that addresses, you know, if you would like to write an essay or a short answer about your COVID-19 experience. Now, their recommendation was, look, we all lived it, right? We all have been affected by this. So we understand that going through this process. However, if there was something that maybe was unique to your own situation, certainly loss of jobs, that is going to be a big part of that. But something, you know, that really was maybe more unique to your situation than it would be to others, that would be the most appropriate time to fill out that question this year on the Common Application. And conversely, even something that maybe a positive that came out of this experience for you. You know, we are, lots of kids that weren't able to participate in sports, weren't able to participate in the activities that they loved and they've been doing since they were probably a young child. And obviously that's going to look different on their application. But you know what, maybe that was the opportunity for them to take on something new, to start a new goal, and really, you know, thrive in that situation. It didn't work. It may not be the case for everybody, but those are the types of you know, situations that they really want to have explained during that COVID-19 Common App question. Again, they understand, they live it, we're currently living it, that everyone is affected, but it's really just more something unique. And if that is something that you are going to share, you do want to make sure that you communicate that with your school counselor as well. So that way we can just kind of back that up in our letter of recommendation. They will be looking to kind of match that information as well. So that is part of that senior college planning survey questionnaire that I showed you in Navient. So just making sure that you spend a little bit of time answering the question for us, and then as well as on the Common App.
Okay, so kids should definitely be getting going on the Common Apps. Again, it's not difficult, it's just tedious. And they don't want to wait until the night before it's due to actually do that. They'll complete all of the, you know, the demographic information, and then they'll have an opportunity toward the end to actually upload their essay to the Common App. And then most of them will complete the whole application process through the Common Application. And we'll be running some help sessions too for kids that need some assistance. The counselors will be available to help with that. One thing that we have every year is the college essay project, and we've been doing this for about the past 15 or 16 years. So typically in the beginning of the year, we have Heidi Erickson from Quinnipiac come in and do a workshop for us, but this year she actually did it in the spring. It is on our website, it is in the Google Classroom, so if your child would like to hear from a college admissions person about the essay, they're welcome to take a look at that. It's very helpful. Our seniors are already at work on their essays with their English teachers, and those essays are going to be due by October 9th. At that point, we will be sharing a Google Drive folder of essays with some of our college admissions partners that we're working with. So this year we have, we'll be working with VC, Suffolk, Rhode Island College, Stonehill, Sacred Heart, and UMass Boston, and we'll be sending those essays or sharing them with the admissions people. The kids will be able to get feedback from them. And then the college reps are going to be coming back either the week of October 19th or the 25th for a virtual visit to the classroom. So we feel this is an awesome opportunity for some authentic feedback from admissions representatives prior to those applications actually being sent in. So when I was in some of the classes yesterday, the kids were a little stressed about it, but we really feel it's an awesome opportunity for them. Okay, the pink sheet, you heard about that a little while ago. So this is the pink sheet, and all of the kids got one of these in their red folders. And this is the form that they need to fill out when they are ready to apply. This needs to be in 2 weeks prior to the application deadline. So Ms. Campbell mentioned to you that October, I think it was 16th, is the deadline for this form to come in for anyone who's going to apply November 1st. Doesn't mean the applications have to be done. It just means that we need this pink form in. And this is where it starts the process. They're turned into Ms. Rivera in the school counseling office. They need to pay $3 per school and turn that in at the same time. And this is really the start of the process where we know that, okay, Susie Q is ready to apply, and let's get her information going. We need that 2-week time period because although you only have probably one child, we might be dealing with 35, 45, 50 seniors, and many of them are applying early action or early, not necessarily early decision, but early action. So I might be looking at a caseload of my caseload and maybe 15 of them are going early action. I need those 2 weeks to get everything done for them. So that's why it's really important that you give us that 2-week timeline to fill this out and to have your student bring it in. So what happens when we get this pink sheet, it really starts the process in terms of getting things going with sending out transcripts and getting things moving. So within 2 weeks of getting this, the counselor will be responsible for sending the high school transcript to the college, and that's usually done through Navient, submitted electronically. As Mrs. Seelig mentioned, every council will write a recommendation for their students, and that will go, again, submitted electronically. We'll send the Whitman-Hanson profile. And if the teacher recommendations are up and loaded into Navient at that point, we will send those as well. It's the student's responsibility to complete the senior college planning survey, to submit the application, the essay, and the application fee. It is a student responsibility to send official SAT or ACT scores from the College Board or from ACT. They do not get sent from the school. And also it's time for the students to request teacher recommendations. We talked with them about that yesterday as well. It's important to note that teacher recommendations, they don't have to do them. Many of them certainly do, and some of them have limits because there's some really popular teachers that might get recommendations by 50 or 60 students, and that's really a lot of letters that they're going to be doing on their own time. It's not part of their job responsibility. I know for me, most of my letters take at least an hour. So when you multiply that, times 50 or 60, that's a lot of time for a teacher to be doing recommendations. I know I can never do them in school because it's too busy. So all of my letters are done at home on nights or weekends. Some teachers may have a limit. They might say, okay, I'll do for the first 25 students that ask. So it is important that students start to ask their teachers. What we recommend is that they choose a teacher from junior or senior year that knows them well. And then it's usually a teacher that's out of a major academic subject area. If a student is going to art school or maybe musical theater, it certainly would be appropriate at that point to have an art or music teacher recommendation as well. But typically, the college people tell us they want major academic subject areas and a teacher from junior or senior year. If the kids are picking a freshman year teacher, they're going to wonder, what happened in the last 3 years that they haven't been able to make a connection with a teacher who's they've had more recently. So those are the student responsibilities.
Can I just jump in on that too?
Absolutely.
Just, one of the things that came up yesterday with the kids, and we really strongly encourage that you really only want to ask 1 to 2 teachers, 2 teachers max. Asking 3, 4, 5 teachers is inappropriate. And, just if you wanted, some students want to be like, oh, well, I want to see who writes the best things. Well, typically you're not going to ask a teacher that you don't think would write something nice about you, right? There you are already choosing a teacher that that you already have a connection with, that you did well in their class, or maybe you didn't do well in that class. Maybe you got a C in AP Bio, but you know what? You worked really hard, and that was the first time that you had a really challenging class. So that would be an excellent, person to ask for a letter of recommendation to talk about that challenge. You don't necessarily need to have that class that you got that A in, but it really is important. We physically can't even submit more letters of recommendation that the college asks for. So if the college asks for only 1 letter of recommendation, that is all that they will accept. So really, truly, 2 letters of recommendation is all that you really want to be asking for. And, making sure that those are in different subject areas. I love Mr. Dempsey and I love Ms. Calambo, so I'm going to ask them both, but it's really not necessary to ask 2 English teachers to write a letter of recommendation. So that was just something that we did, kind of point out to the kids yesterday as well.
Good point, good point.
And just, keeping that in mind.
And one of the things too, that I know I talked with my kids about, it's very important that if a teacher does write a recommendation, that the student really thanks them, sends them a thank you note, like in person, a little card. It really goes a long way. And teachers spend a lot of time outside of school doing this for our students. So a thank you note is really an appropriate thing to do. So, okay, so how many applications? I know Mr. Amata talked about this recently when he was talking, and you want to be careful. You don't have too many, but you want to have enough. So application fees are expensive. So again, if you're eligible for free reduced lunch, make sure you talk to your counselor about application fee waivers. But what we recommend is 1 or 2 reach schools, and that could be an academic reach or a financial reach. So when you're looking at Naviance, and it could go either way. When you look at your graph, that would be a reach school. You want 2 or 3 more realistic schools that you could probably get into, probably could afford. So again, on Naviance, it's looking pretty good. You think you can pay the bill. And then you might want 1 safety school so that you're likely to be accepted and you know that it's going to be affordable for your family. Okay, so I'm going to ask Ms. Bradshaw to jump in for the next couple of slides.
All right. Hi, folks. I'm going to be talking about what you and your student can do to impact this big process you're all taking on, and also just touching on college sports quickly. So the first thing, which I think most of you have already done, is to make sure to be taking the highest level of courses that you can handle. Obviously, just keep it within reason with all the added stress going on, but I think everybody's done a good job of that so far. Obviously, always work hard. Try to get the best grades as possible. And then also just a reminder that second quarter grades are used for your mid-year reports. So just kind of keep that in mind as that approaches. And then if you're still planning to take the SAT or ACT, if you're interested in prep work, I know there's a ton of resources that are online. And then always remember that once you are accepted to colleges, they can still check your grades. So you always hear those horror stories of people losing their acceptance because they just kind of give up at the end of the senior year. So be sure to keep on it. And then also creating a resume is a good idea if there's not enough room in the Common App to fit all the activities. So this includes any sort of outside sport teams, activities, clubs, or community service projects, which is a great way to show colleges how you spend your time outside of school. And especially this year, I feel like they'll be super interested in that, seeing as the SAT has kind of taken a back seat. And there are examples of these college resumes in the Navigating the College Process booklet, if you need some reference. And then moving on, personally, I feel like now more than ever, this is super important. Your students' online presence can really do some damage if it gets out of hand. So it might be a good idea to look through all the different profiles they may have with them, of course, and make sure that there's nothing inappropriate on there. Personally, when I was going through this process, I combed through all my stuff with the notion of what would my grandparents think of what I was posting, and that seemed to do the trick. So just a good little piece of advice. And then as far as college sports go, if your child's planning to play D1 or D2 sports, they must register on the NCAA Eligibility Center website. This was once called the Clearinghouse, but they just changed the name. And then this year, due to COVID, the entire NCAA is test optional. So they're kind of following suit, much like most colleges.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so now we're wrapping things up. We've gone a little bit over an hour. Sorry about that. I know Ms. Dalton was here in the beginning to talk about, senior stress. It's a real thing. I think every year we see kids who I've always been fine handling everything, and then all of a sudden they get into trouble senior year with just dealing with the stress of it all. So it does happen. If your child is experiencing that, please reach out to us. We will try to help. We can connect them with school adjustment counselors. So our advice is to know your teen, to listen to them, and know where to get help if you need it. As Ms. Dault mentioned, we do have resources for counseling referrals out in the community as well. And sometimes stress can be a good thing. I know I'm kind of a procrastinator, so I get a little bit of stress and it gets me going to do some things. So it's not all bad, but definitely keep an eye on your kids. If you're seeing that it's becoming overwhelming, definitely please reach out to help. We want to help them. So I guess our last message to you is just that don't worry, you can do this. Senior year can be stressful. We are here to help you. We are happy to meet with you. It's a little bit more difficult, but we can do Zoom meetings. During the school day, if your child maybe has an elective, we can do them right at the end of the school day, as long as it works with our schedule. We can do some things on Wednesdays. So we definitely want to be there for you and help you through this process. And just, keep on track, and, less than 9 months from now, you will be having graduation ceremonies and graduation parties. So we will all get through it together. All right. So at this point, I'm going to pause for questions. I also want to let you know that we will be sending you out an evaluation form to give us some feedback. We really do care what you think. And we've developed some programming based on responses we've gotten from our parents. So please fill that out when you see it show up in your email. And at this point, I'm going to stop the share. And Mrs. Cooney, you want to take a look at the chat and see if there are things we have not been able to?
Sure. I think a lot of them were answered along the way.
Okay.
We had someone asked if students should definitely apply to a state school. I'm not sure if you're describing the safety kind of answer that question.
Yeah, I think it's always good to have a state school on the list because especially if you haven't had those conversations about money, the college is expensive, and yes, you might get some financial aid, but you may not get as much as you think you need. So on that list of your safety schools, you want to have one that you can afford. So, and our state colleges are great colleges, and I certainly would recommend them.
And then there was the essay project question of when students expect that to come back. And I believe that was answered with the week of the 19th and the 25th.
Right.
With the admissions, people would be in to via virtually to talk to the kids. Right. Is there a different process for applications to honors colleges within state colleges?
Not typically. Usually you're still just applying, and the college, based on the information that you submit, which would be the transcript and in some cases scores, again, that will be a little bit different this year, but they typically will offer you an honors placement versus you applying for it.
I believe going through that those are the only questions, unless anyone has anything else now.
So at this point, you're welcome to put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. We're happy to have you do that.
Hello, are we allowed to ask for a recommendation from the drama director if a student is possibly going to go even if it's any type of musical theater or voice for a major or minor?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions at all before we head off? All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Again, please fill out the evaluation, and always, you're welcome to reach out to your school counselor anytime with questions. You may be new at this process. We've been doing it for years, and we do a good job with it, and we're happy to help you and your child through it. So thanks everybody for coming. We really appreciate your time.